Welcome back to another Post-Media Ottawa Senators panel. I'm Bruce Garrioch. Pleased to be joined today by Wayne Scanlan of Sportsnet.ca and former longtime Ottawa Citizen columnist. And Wayne, I think we've done training camp 30 times now, and we always get to this point and say, what are the best battles in camp? I look at the way this camp has gone with the team down to 30 players as they head into the final week of the preseason, and I think there's two areas we can discuss. One is that fourth line center, and let's start there, and then we'll turn to defense.
Well, Mark Kastelik has played so well, hasn't he, Bruce? And I thought Saturday night against Montreal, which was, it's preseason. We can't take things too seriously. That lost to Toronto the night before. I thought they needed to kind of rebound. And of course, Pinto and the power play really lifted the team. But Kastelik is just doing everything that DJ Smith is asking of him. Being a role player, he's really strong on the puck. He protects the puck. He hustles, gets in on the forecheck. So, Dylan Gambrell was signed, right, to be that guy this year. But I think Mark Kastelik is making things interesting for the coaching staff.
Yeah, and he may need more time in the American Hockey League, and it's a contractual situation.
Right.
And you also have Derek Brassard in the mix, the 35-year-old veteran, 49 games from 1,000 in his career. They have to make a decision on whether they want to keep him or not. But I still think the biggest decisions in this camp, and let's leave Nikita Zaitsev out of this for now, is on defense. And Brandstrom showed well, but he needs to do that consistently, doesn't he, Wayne?
Well, he does. It's funny. We were sitting around, as we do, Bruce, at practice the other day, and someone in our group said, I don't know what's up with Brandstrom. Like this is his time to show it, right? Like
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like he hurt us because Saturday night he has, the game of, I don't want to say the game of his life. It's preseason against a kind of a watered down Montreal team, but he had the game of his camp. And like you said, can he do it again? I just typed it out in a column for Sportsnet.ca. Can he do that consistently? Because doing that and then falling back and having a so-so effort is not going to cut it. Bruce, he doesn't have the size. He's not going to just play that position and box people out and win that spot. He's got to move his feet. He's got to get pucks up. And he did that with aplomb on Saturday night.
No, and certainly he's got the skill. And I was a little disappointed to see Lassie Thompson amongst the 19 players that were sent down, Wayne. I felt like that was early for him, but Jacob Larson has put himself in the mix, and JBD has put himself in the mix. Do I think either player will start here? No. But I do think this organization has a decision to make on Nikita Zaitsev. 2 years left at $4.5 million per season. We saw Nikita Zaitsev at his worst on Saturday night against the Habs. He lacked consistency last year. He's brought that inconsistency back to camp.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're better on the player movement stuff than I am. So what are the options? I guess they could waive him. Would anybody pick him up on waivers? Not likely, right? No one's going to take that contract. No. Can they move him? I don't think he has a place here anymore. I just don't think he's a fit. There was a time when they needed him. They needed his experience, and DJ Smith kind of liked what he brought from Toronto. And I think that time has passed.
And the issue with Wayne trying to waive him or trade him is, if you trade him, you've got to include a sweetener. Like,
right.
You've got to give someone a third-round pick or something. And, Pierre Dorian, as a former scout, he values draft picks highly. So he probably does not want to do that. If you send Nikita Zaitsev to the minors, making that kind of money, how is that going to work? I think personally, you start with him as the seventh defenseman and see if you get consistency out of Brandstrom staying in the lineup, because it does. You do have a guy there who's played some good hockey in the National Hockey League. It's just the last year he just hasn't been very good.
Yeah, and I wonder if he's feeling the pressure, Bruce, that coming off the year that he had, and Pierre Dorian has said publicly he's got to be better. And he looked to me like he was fighting the puck a little bit the other night.
And I guess this all leads us to, and there's been an awful lot of discussion in this camp, Wayne, about defense and what this defense is going to look like. And Pierre Dorian stated in the offseason that he would like to get a top four defenseman if he could find the right fit. The name we've heard several times is Jacob Chychrun of the Arizona Coyotes. He remains available. What do you think they need to go out and get him?
Well, it feels like it's going to happen eventually. It's a question of when, and he's a little banged up right now, and needs some time to heal. Maybe they'd like a veteran Nikita Zaitsev as part of a package to.
But you know what? He would have to go back, Wayne, because he would have to go back with a sweetener because I think Ottawa would have to get that money off the books to make
Right.
a deal for a guy like Chychrun. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's just it. And I think the question all along has been, what young asset, if any, do they have to give up? And we've heard the name Shane Pinto. I just think that's a non-starter. As much as they want to improve their defense, and Chychrun could be an answer, I don't see them giving up a guy like Shane Pinto, who's just coming into his own and is just playing so well right now. So maybe patience is a virtue for Pierre Dorian, and it's maybe waiting out Arizona is the right ploy, and eventually they'll come to an agreement that'll make sense for both sides.
Well, the three names that I think have been discussed or at least asked about by the Coyotes are, and we've heard publicly, are Mad Sogard, Jake Sanderson, and Ridley Gregg. We've only seen a small sample size of Ridley Gregg Saturday night when he blocked 3 shots and was on the limp. But I don't see a scenario where Ottawa wants to give up one of those guys plus 2 first-round picks. And as much as you've got cost certainty with Jacob Chychrun, the one thing people have to understand is he's out with a wrist injury right now. And he will not play until the end of October. To me, there's no point making this deal right now either. Because let's see what happens, Wayne, when he gets back. I mean, a lot of people.
I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that's part of why Pierre Dorian is not in any hurry to get a deal done, because this guy can't even play for you right now anyway. So it gives him more time to finesse the deal. I agree that they don't want to give up any of those key young players. But, Bruce, maybe part of being a maturing franchise means eventually you've got to give up high draft picks, right? That's something
but they did it for DeBrincat, and you're right.
Right.
Yep.
Right. But they've, up until now, they've been the team acquiring the draft picks, and part of being a maturing franchise, they're going to maybe have to. But do they want to give up a first rounder for Chychrun? I mean, it'd be better to make the deal without.
Well, too, Wayne, and I guess my question to you would be, and I know what my answer is. Do you want to go 3 years with a first round pick because you gave up one for DeBrincat? Do you want to do that for 3 years? And I guess that's what they have to wrestle with. But it has worked out well for getting DeBrincat, and I think Claude Giroux has made a positive impact on this team just in the short sample size we've seen. How have you felt about their summer additions?
Oh, I just think it couldn't be better, Bruce. And I love the approach of these two guys. I mean, you and I know they were skating before camp even started. And we watched them in practice, and they're just working on their chemistry. And I thought that was really illustrated the other night. I mean, how much have they even played with Shane Pinto? Not all that much, right? Considering that Tim Stützle is their usual centerman. But DeBrincat and Giroux on the power play especially just were fabulous. And setting up Shane Pinto, knowing that DeBrincat's going to be covered, and then DeBrincat scoring in overtime, and remembering that he's a shooter and not a playmaker. I think that was important too. I'm just really impressed. Cam Talbot, of course, we're going to wait and see his input, and he's been banged up a little bit. But those two forwards, boy, it's been everything that they've wanted and hoped for.
A guy I don't want to bypass, and I should have mentioned him earlier, is Jake Sanderson. I think the kid, 20-year-old from the University of North Dakota, has shown tremendous poise in again, a small sample size.
Yeah, and I liked what DJ Smith said after the Montreal game that, he at this point in his career, he doesn't have to show that much flash offensively. Just be comfortable with the defensive game. And he's so good defensively. Coming out of college, it's really something to see this guy play and again, preseason, we got to wait and see against real NHL competition. But the way that he positions himself, closes gaps, uses his stick to break up plays, very, very impressive for a kid his age.
Good hockey IQ. And as we wrap up here, the final week of the exhibition season includes 3 games against Montreal Canadiens, one in Montreal Tuesday night, then Thursday and Saturday in Newfoundland and New Brunswick, respectively. What do we want to see in the last week of training camp before decisions are made?
Well, we're down to 30 players, so I like the idea that you're going to see more regulars in the roster. You're going to see the line combinations. I think you want to see them fine tune that power play. I mean, this was supposed to be power play 2, right? That we saw on Saturday night. They put in a pretty good argument to be power play 1, so I think you're going to fine tune that. But
Yeah.
I like to see the Habs, ice better lineups too, and then it'll bring out the best of both sides if the Canadians and the Senators are icing something closer to their opening night rosters.
Well, opening night is October 13th against the Buffalo Sabres on the road, and we're not far away from that. And the next time the post media panel gathers, the Senators will be preparing to open the season, and I'm sure we'll talk about playoff expectations then. For Post Media in Ottawa, I'm Bruce Garrioch with Wayne Scanlan of Sportsnet.ca.